Now, hopefully. All right, put your name on here. It is second hour, or whatever hour you're watching this, or whatever hour you're in if you're watching the video. Okay, we are solving absolute value equations. So what we just talked about in our quick write, an absolute value is a distance. Absolute value is always our distance from 0. So absolute value is our distance from 0. Our absolute value signs are these tall little bars here. So they're just like a straight up and down line. So the absolute value of 5, that's what that means. It's not 151. The absolute value of 5. How far away is 5 from 0? 5. Okay. What is the absolute value of negative 5? 5. Okay. Our steps for solving these are pretty stinking similar to our radical equations from yesterday. I just could not think of the word radical. Our first step is going to be to isolate the absolute value. So today, we have our absolute value. Yesterday we had our radicals. It was kind of like a house. I don't know. The absolute value doesn't look like a house because it doesn't have a roof. What does an absolute value look like?
A rectangle.
I mean, it is a rectangle. Kind of like a bus. We're going to call it a bus. Okay. So, pay attention to what is outside of the bus. Pay attention to what is inside the bus. We got to get rid of everything outside the bus before we can get rid of the bus, before we can open the doors to the bus. Okay? So we are going to isolate the absolute value. After we isolate the absolute value, we are going to split into two equations. Because there is a chance that the absolute value was doing nothing. That the absolute value, what was inside, was already equal to a positive and distance is already positive. There was also a chance that the absolute value was doing its job and making that positive. So if I say that the absolute value of something is equal to 5, I'm going to need to solve that equation equal to 5 and equal to negative 5. So I'm going to split. One is going to be equal to a positive, and one is going to be equal to a negative. So that's what I mean by that there. By that there. That's a weird sentence. Once you have split, you are going to solve both of your equations. So, with that being said, let's get started. All of the ones on the front here work like that, and then there's a couple special things on the back. So if you are a person that works ahead, caution. The back gets weird. Okay, so this first one, we've got the absolute value of 2x minus the 5 equals negative 1. On the left side of my equation, what is outside of the absolute value? The minus 5, okay? So we got to get rid of that minus 5 first. We're going to do that by adding 5 to both sides. Once I have added 5 to both sides, I'm going to have the absolute value of 2x equals, and then negative 1 plus 5 is 4. Okay, so that was the first step. My next step, I want to split my absolute value. There is nothing outside of the absolute value now. So in order to get rid of those absolute value signs, what I do is I am going to, like to draw 2 arrows to show that I'm splitting. I'm going to be solving 2 separate equations now. They are 2x equals 4 and 2x equals negative 4. So what's inside the bus stays the same. But you're going to be equal to 4 and you're going to be equal to negative 4. So equal to the positive, equal to the negative. And then we are going to solve both of these, and we're going to have 2 full equations, or 2 full answers. So we'll divide both sides by 2 over here. And we'll get x equals 4 divided by 2 is 2. For this one over here, we will divide both sides by 2. We'll get x equals -2. So we have 2 solutions here. They are 2 and -2. Hey, any questions about that first problem? Okay, let's keep going then. Yes? Can you wait until we're done with notes? If you can wait until you're done with notes, wait. If you can't, go. All right, the next one. What is outside of the bus here? 4. Yeah? Okay. What operation is that 4 doing to our absolute value? Multiplying. So yesterday when we were multiplying up against our radicals, people were getting confused for some reason. If it's just right in front and there's no sign, that's multiplication. So we're going to divide both sides by 4. This 4 over 4 cancels. So we have the absolute value of x plus 9. And that is equal to 24 divided by 4, which is 6. Okay, from there, we are going to split our equation. So we're going to split, and we will solve 2 different equations. Our 2 equations are both going to be x plus 9 equals. So x plus 9 equals, the part that gets to switch is 6, and then x plus 9 equals -6. It's equal to a positive and equal to a negative. A bad habit some people get into is changing this sign here. What's inside the absolute value always stays the exact same. Right, and then now we've got 2 more steps to solve. So we are going to subtract 9 here and here. X equals 6 minus 9 is -3. And then the other one, we subtract 9, we subtract 9. -6 minus 9 is -15. Right. Any questions right now? Okay, so both of these, we got the absolute value by themselves. I'm like standing in front of it as I do it. We got the absolute value by itself, then we split, then we finish solving. Sometimes there's a lot more work to do at the beginning or a lot more work to do at the end. So those are the last 2 examples we're going to see here. John, is that a hand? No, okay. I couldn't tell if you were stretching or raising your hand. All right, this next one. What is inside the absolute value there? Just the x. So we've got to get rid of everything else first. So we are going to start by subtracting this 13. Minus 13, minus 13. I still have the absolute value of x over 4 equals 15 minus 13 is 2. Okay, from there, we want to get rid of this dividing by 4. So we're going to multiply both sides by 4. So times 4 times 4. This 4 over 4 cancels. So we've got the absolute value of x equals 2 times 4, which is 8. Okay, now there is nothing outside of our absolute value sign. So we are finally ready to split. So we're going to split, and when we split, it's going to be x equals 8, and x equals negative 8. And then we don't have to keep going because x is already by itself. So if x is the only thing that's in the absolute value sign, splitting will be the last thing that you do. All right, any questions about that one? Okay, so in this one, x was the only thing inside the absolute value sign. What's inside the absolute value sign here? Everything, all of it. So if everything's inside the absolute value signs, the very first thing that we're going to do is split. So this one we didn't split until the very end. This one we get to split at the very, whatever you want to call it, split at the very beginning. So we're going to split at the very beginning into x plus 2 over 3 equals 5. And x plus 2 over 3 equals negative 5. All right, so with these, we will now solve both of them. It's going to be the same steps, but you're going to get completely different answers. So if it's a big fraction like this, what is the first thing that I need to get rid of here? Oh, 3. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 3 times 3 times 3. Those cancel. I've got x plus 2 equals 15. And then I'm going to subtract 2 from both sides. I'm going to get x equals 13. Okay, on the other side, I do the same steps, but I'm going to get a different answer because I'm equal to something different to start. So I'm going to multiply by 3 times 3 times 3. These cancel, so I've got x plus 2 equals negative 5 times 3 is negative 15. And then I'm going to subtract 2. So minus 2 minus 2. I will get x equals negative 17. Negative 15 minus 2 is negative 17. All right, any questions on the 4 examples we've seen and the 8 answers we've gotten? Okay, how many answers did every one of these equations have? 2. So if it is an absolute value that is equal to a positive number, then once the absolute value is by itself, we split, we solve equal to a positive, equal to a negative, we go from there. And we're going to get 2 answers. Flip this over. We have 2 more examples on the back, but they end up being less work for you. So don't be like, oh my God, there's 2 more. That actually ends up helping you. Hey. What do you notice about this next one?
0.
It's equal to 0 right now. Okay? We haven't solved for x yet, but it's currently equal to 0. So let's start solving this one. What is outside my absolute value? 4. What color was I doing this in purple? So I'm going to get rid of my 4 by dividing. So I'm going to divide both sides by 4. Divide by 4. I get the absolute value of 2x minus 10 is equal to... What is 0 divided by 4? 0. 0 divided by anything is 0. Cool. I'm going to make my absolute value signs a little bit taller because that kind of looks like a 12. And you guys should too. Make sure you can tell what's an absolute value sign and what's a 1. Okay. At this point, on all of our examples on the front, what would it be time to do? Split. I would split equal to a positive and equal to a negative. Zero is neither positive nor negative. So I don't have to solve both. Because if I were to solve 2x minus 10 equals 0 and 2x minus 10 equals negative 0, negative 0 is not a thing. And it's the same thing. So I would just be solving 2x minus 10 equals 0 twice. So I don't need to do the same thing twice. I'm just going to do it once. So if your absolute value is equal to 0, you only need to solve equal to 0. Because the distance from 0 is always 0. Because it's 0. So you still need to solve, though. Because you still got to solve for x. So we're going to add 10 to both sides. We get 2x equals 0 plus 10 is 10. And then we divide both sides by 2. We get x equals 5. All right. Any questions about that? How many answers did you have? 1. So if an absolute value is equal to 0, you are only going to have one solution. Okay, last one here. What is outside of my absolute value? The negative 2. How do I get rid of that negative 2? Divide. It's currently multiplying, so I'm going to divide both sides by negative 2. Okay, so now I've got the absolute value of 3x over 5 equals 16 divided by negative 2, which is negative 8. Okay, what am I ready to do? Okay, we would want to split now. We are currently equal to a negative. Is distance allowed to be negative? No. Absolute values are telling you your distance from 0. Is there any number on my number line that is negative 8 from 0? No, because 8 is 8 away and negative 8 is 8 away. So absolute value cannot equal 0. So if you want to write a note to yourself of why this is happening, absolute values, cannot equal a negative. Cannot equal a negative. So write a little note to yourself so you know why this is happening. And then we cannot solve this. There is no solution. All right, so I put a little summary section here at the end so you can keep track of the different things that happen. If your absolute value is equal to a negative, which just happened, we have no solution. We cannot solve. So get to the point where you would split, and then if it's going to be equal to a negative, write down no solution. But get to the point where you can split, because sometimes, like, if it starts equal to a negative, but then we were to divide by a negative, then it would be equal to a positive and you can solve. So get to the point where it's just your absolute value. So if just your absolute value is equal to a negative, there's no solution. If just your absolute value is equal to 0, how many answers did we have? One solution. So that was the first example on the back here. If your absolute value is equal to a positive number, which was every single problem on the front, how many solutions did you have? 2. Okay, so most of the time, you will have 2 solutions. But if it's equal to 0, you only have 1, and if it's equal to a negative number, you don't get any at all. Hey, any questions right now for the good of the cause? Okay. I am going to stop this video. Bye, video.